All right, well, hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our last town hall for 2026. Important subject throughout the season, which is the capital investment plan. So they've all been focused on that. So we'll get started. We do have from our cross-functional team in our committee, we have Brad Hutchins from Long Range Planning, Doug Hassink from our Finance Committee, and then we have Board of Director members, Ginny Hager, Kelly Al Kaline Johnson, and then we have Kimberly and myself from Operations. So thanks for spending the time with us this morning. Don't forget to get your Breakfast of Champions, which are cookies and coffee from Leppinks, and we'll get started. We got a huge agenda on this one. We're going to do a summary, and then we're going to go right into Q&A. We're going to spend most of the time fielding questions. The majority, actually all of the information is out on the Election Hub. If you go out to the Election Hub, you go out to the sandypines.com website. Right at the top, there's a blue banner that says 2026 Annual Election Hub, and you can scroll down into, all of the information there. So you have the 25-year projected plan, you have the 15 years that we're voting on, you have ample amount of information there. So we've gone through all of the presentations. Again, this is kind of a summary of kind of where we're at. Election is obviously next week, so we want to field any of the questions that you may have. So typically what I do, my process in making decisions is, when we're talking about something, what is it and what is it not, okay? So when we take a look at this investment fund and everything that we've been talking about, here's what it is. We're voting on 15 years. There's a ton of noise out on social media, okay? Social media is not your avenue for all of the information. All right, again, go to the Election Hub. All this information is out here. We're voting on 15 years. We're not voting on 25 years. It is a $450 incremental investment to the membership. It does have a 3.5% annual escalator. Now, if you do the math, that's 30 on the 450. That's $37.50 per month extra a member would have to put into this fund to move forward. At the end of 15 years, after the 3.5% compiles, it's $71 extra a month. There's been a ton of noise out there that, the numbers are, wrong, misleading. Again, all this information, the project list is out there. The project list, if you go to the bottom of the page, the project list has a summary of the escalator and the annual impact. Originally, at 25 years, it was a $25,000 investment into the membership. Membership made their voices heard. Board, cross-functional team heard that and said, all right, we're not going to do 25 years, we're going to do 15 years. So again, if you do the math, even though we're going 15 years, it has cut your investment from $25,000 over 25 years to about $12,450, so almost $12,500. Okay, so less than $1,000 over 15 years. It addresses approximately 65% of the projects. Again, the project list is out there. It's posted at Member Service. If you've already voted through the absentee ballot process, thank you. It's been pretty busy in Member Service, and the Member Service team has done a great job. I've had to step out and walk some of the members through some of the information. The project list, including all of the estimated costs per year, the breakdown, impact to the members, it's all there. It's all at Member Service on the wall. Reviewed annually for accountability. This is part of our bylaw process, right? So the board has to review the annual budget. We've done this for 10 years on the 10-year capital. There's been no issues. We'll show a trend chart on that. That's part of the board's process. That's part of the finance committee's process. Those individuals are elected by the membership, so there is accountability on it. It addresses the critical needs of the park. We had a third party come in. They have absolutely no interest in this other than assessing and evaluating our structures. They are not getting a contract to build this stuff. They are not getting a contract to design this stuff. If they do, it goes through an open bid process. That's how we handle all of our projects here at Sandy Pines. It's based on membership survey results. So we put this together. We sent out a member survey to members back in February. Again, over 1,200 members responded. This is the plan based on the needs that the membership prioritized. It's protecting your individual park investment. You know, we've talked to individuals that have, on the east side of the state, they've been part of Park and Rec's area. They've seen decline in their parks, and people have left. The value has gone down. It's like any other community. If you don't invest in it, you don't upkeep it, the value goes down, people leave. If your site is X and it's now appreciated to Y, that will start to depreciate because you're letting the park run down. Again, the final 10 years is reevaluated with another membership vote. I heard a bunch of noise out there from, and again, I'm not on Facebook. Sorry, I'm not a social media person. I don't waste my time on that. But I've heard, hey, listen, this is a 25-year plan. You're voting on 15 years of it, and then the last 10, the board can just vote in the last 10. Not accurate. Absolutely not accurate. So this final 10 years, we can reevaluate at a later date. The board, you may not be here, I may not be here. It's a plan. The last 10 years, that plan can get picked up and then can get reevaluated and reassessed. It's got to go back to a ballot, and the members have to vote on it. It's still the best value around, even if you add in the incremental 450 starting now. I can pull up, if we have time, I can pull up comparisons of surrounding campgrounds, Hungry Horse, Dumont Lake, other campgrounds around here. They are significantly higher in their annual membership, and they have significantly less activities, amenities, and things of that nature that Sandy Pines has. We did do some affordability stuff in the last meeting where, you know, not to get into individual personal, you know, finances of members, but, you know, for $12,000 over 15 years, $12,450, I believe is what we talked about. You can go get a golf cart across the street for that amount. We've done evaluations of trips to Disney, cruises. You know, you're dropping $4,000 to $10,000 on that stuff. So it's not to say, hey, you guys shouldn't spend that money. It's more to do a comparison of, we have a value here for 6 months. Here's what other people are spending their money on. Are we still a value? And the numbers say yes, we are still a value. It is not, again, we're not voting on the entire 25 years. We are not voting on that. You're voting on 15 years. It is not the escalator 3.5% plus COLA on top of that. That one came across my desk as well. So we do the annual COLA, that goes to the operational dues. This year it's 3.5%, Kimberly? 3.3. So some of the noise out there, well, this would be a 3.5 plus an additional 3.3, not accurate. It's a locked in 3.5%. It's not a blank check. Again, there's accountability on this. There's projects that have been identified. Those projects have been scrubbed by the third-party experts on structures, our operational team, our board, finance committee, long range. We've had a ton. It's taken 3 years to put this together. It's not left unchecked by the board of directors. We already addressed that. Part of the process and our bylaws, they have to approve. They have to approve the budget and the projects. It's not a wish list. This again has come back from members based on that survey feedback, and it's addressing critical needs of the park. It's not without membership input. Automatically renewed for final 10 years? No, it's not. You guys get to vote on that. So again, all the information is out there. I think we've tried to be as open and sharing of the information, and tried to address some of those things that have come into our office, and through writing questions with the board and things of that nature. Before I open up for Q&A, I'd open it up for anybody on the at the table here, board of directors or the committee members, if anybody wants to address anything else or make any additional comments. Everybody good up here, or they haven't had their sugar and coffee yet, so okay. One last thing, this is what we've done over the last 10 years. You will see the budget is the blue line, and then the actual spend is the orange line. Again, based on the guidance from the finance committee and the board, we've pretty much done what we've said we're going to do. Some projects get pushed because of timing, others get pulled in because of need. This does allow flexibility of, hey, I want to renovate my basement. I want to make it a sports den, a man cave. Go Irish! I like the hat. Make it an Irish or Michigan Wolverines man cave. But now my roof is leaking, so I got to push that out, and I got to pull in the roof and do the roof. So it does allow flexibility of that. But the projects are the projects, and that's the plan. Okay. Normal process, if you have any questions, you can step up to the mic, name and site number. Again, we're trying to give the majority of the time to you guys. We've got about 48 minutes because it's a beautiful day out there and it's Christmas. So don't be shy. Step up.
Drew Torres, K233. My question is, what was the thought process? I may have missed it in your opening remark. I was a minute late. What was the thought process with the board and yourself, Jeff, on making it a 15-year proposal versus 5 or 10?
Oh, good question. So the thought process to make it 15 years over, 5 or 10, the 10-year, I think we did a good job in the 10-year. Quite honestly, we started at kind of a 10-year, and then we started looking at the number of projects, and based on the evaluation from Whiteman, who went and evaluated our structures, could we get all the critical needs done in 10 years? We expanded that to 25 years, and then we said, based on member feedback, 25 years is probably too much. So we kind of met in the middle. The 15-year plan still addresses 65% of those projects and the majority of the critical need projects. So I think the board, and I'll open it up to Kelly and Ginny as well. I think that was the conversation that we had with the board, and I think that's where the board landed on with 15 years. You hear a lot of, hey, why isn't this a 3 or 5 year plan? Again, it took 3 years to put this together. We got to look at Sandy Pines as we're the largest populated spot in Allegan County, right? We are a city during the summer, and we do have to act and run like we're a city. When you look at a millage and you look at infrastructure that a city tries to put together, it's not on a 3 or 5 year plan. It's typically a 10, 15, 30-year plan. So we took a look at the number of projects. We took a look at member feedback, and we kind of said 5 years isn't enough, 25 is probably too long. 10-year went like that on the 10-year capital reserve, so we settled on 15 years. I'll open it up to Kelly or Ginny if you got any other comments.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start out by saying I believe in the 25-year plan. I think the company that come in and did the evaluation gave us a true book of what we need to do in 25 years to keep everything upgraded and include some of the things that membership asked us to add into a project through the survey. And then we listened to the members who said, and I really, honestly, I had some reservations about 25 years too, because in life, things change quite rapidly. And I wasn't sure myself whether 25 years was a good thing. But listening to the members, we went back and we met and we had our committees go over that and give us some more recommendations and their thoughts. And we decided to go down to a 15. 10 years goes too fast. 15 years allows us to bring a majority of the things in that 15-year period to keep our places the way they are now. So we agreed to present the 15-year plan. For me, 3 or 5 years, we have a lot of people that served on committees, spent a lot of times the last 3 years working on these things. So 3 years, do we really want those same committees meeting as often as they did, doing all the work they did? No. We want to get a base where we can watch it. We've talked with Kimberly. I don't know if you guys have looked at the last couple of years, but at the end of those seasons, she presented what the long-range plan was, what the capital things we wanted to do. She pointed that out and she brought forward that information, said this is what we wanted to do and this is what we accomplished. So the transparency was there if anyone wanted to look. So she does a very good job of being transparent with everything, and transparency will be there. The other thing on the 15 years, it gives us an opportunity to look at the plan that was developed and said, okay, yeah, it worked. No, it didn't work. There could be a possibility in 15 years that we don't have enough money based on what this park has to pay to keep everything up to date. So, and a couple of our board members had said we would be more comfortable going down to the 15 because that'll give the new board or whatever board's on, whatever president's there, a good base to start with, and then if they want to present the rest of the 10 years for a membership vote, they can, but it gives them a base to look at, to work with, to go forward. So for me, again, I'll keep saying it forever, the 25-year plan that they put together for this park to be successful and keep going is an excellent plan. The other stuff that's in there that people are on Facebook are calling, well, we really don't need that, it's frivolous. Well, that's what 1,200 members more said, we'd like you to do what you're doing, but could you please add this? So we listened to that and we added that. So I hope you, and I'm going to go back again. People get tired of me saying this, but think about what you spend here for 6 months. I think the average amount of people spend here with the fees and all that is somewhere around the $3,000 range for the 6 months. And for those of you who have taken a vacation outside of here with that 6 months, I bet you spent that much or more on a week or a 2 weeks vacation. So Jeff had mentioned that this is the best value around. You can't beat that value. We can't beat what this park provides for our families and for our kids, and for 6 months if we so choose to use it. So keep that in mind when you vote, and however you vote, we're members too. We'll deal with it. We'll agree. That's what the membership want. But keep an open mind when you do that. Don't look at all the negatives that's on Facebook or social media and say, oh yeah, I agree with you, because not all of that is true. And there's not one board member that wouldn't sit down and talk with any of you if you ever wanted to talk on an individual basis. That's it. I've said enough.
Steve Bono, Site 5140. I have two questions. One is, in having not been here when the 10-year assessment was set up for the $200, if I understand it correctly, that 200 was supposed to end at the end of that 10 years, correct? So we don't even mention that. So it's really 650, it's not 450, and I just want to make sure the people that are watching and everything on TV that they're aware it's not just 450, it's 650. It's kind of like the shell game with the golf course, how we were only going to be paying $50 more, but it's really 100, however it worked out. So was that, I'm correct in saying that that was supposed to
No, I
end?
would, Steve, I would disagree with your comments. Right now, you're already paying 200, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that 200 isn't going away, and we've been clear with, you're paying 200 now, the incremental is 450. So, yes, it's 650 total,
Right.
but you're already paying 200 now. So the impact to your pocketbook, because the other option could have been, and you know, we've talked to members, well, why don't you just carry the 200 over? Well, we did that math, and quite honestly, if we carried the 200 over for the projects that we needed to do, we'd be in a deficit in year 2.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
So it's really 450 incremental because you're already paying the 200 now.
Yeah, and the impact could have been we pay less than 200, or 200 less. So that's all I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of. The other thing is we have a third party doing assessments here, and coming from 40 years of facilities maintenance and all of the buildings being over 50 years old that I was responsible for with Ford, General Motors, and Amazon. Did this third party at all, were they ever asked to do let's keep the nostalgic beauty of that area, which just about everybody I know enjoys that beach, that area, those trees that are probably 100 years old. Did we at all ask them what would it cost to shore up and restore what we have versus build a big North Shore there? Kind of what everything's looking like, these big, huge buildings. Did we at all take the time to say, what would it cost us to restore what we have, keep this nostalgic beauty, keep the cute little drive-through for the golf carts to come and get an ice cream? Those are the things that are rubbing me the wrong way, because that area is beautiful and everybody, that's the most used area in the entire park. And now it's going to be, if it passes, it's going to be a bunch of big modern buildings, everything changed around, trees taken down.
So I guess I would challenge you with, where are you making that assumption? How are you getting to that conclusion?
Looking at the rendition, the drawings.
So
yeah.
the renderings, again, and we talked about that probably the first or second town hall. Those are ideas, okay? So the answer to your question is, yes, we've had the conversation with them on, they are here to do an evaluation of the structures. And we've shown those pictures at the last meeting. The structures are over 50 years old, okay? If you look at option number 2 in the renderings, that follows kind of the same color scheme, the same kind of buildings that you have our CCs and you have some of the other buildings throughout the park. The option number 1, and we've got a bunch of feedback on that, hey, that looks like a hospital. It's an idea, okay? That's all it is an idea. Their evaluation is solely on, is the structure past its lifetime and does it need to be replaced? How much are you spending to keep it running versus replacing it? And then what we talked about last month was they came in with a $43 million number on, here's everything you should replace. Through the committee, through the cross-functional team, through the board, long-range planning, finance, said, well, do we really need to replace all these things? And then we pivoted and said, all right, some of these things we can renovate. So we can keep the structure, it's the insides that need to be, the plumbing, the heat, the electrical, ADA compliance. So yes, we have had that conversation with them. I would also say on the renderings, where we get a ton of information or feedback on amphitheater. If I never hear that word again, I will be, that'll be a godsend. Never want to hear that word again. But again, we took verbatim from the members on that survey, the write-in questions and the write-in information, hey, this would be really cool to have an amphitheater. Not a bad idea. In our eyes, in our head, it's a covered stage. We used amphitheater. So you're right, that is the busiest point in the, during the weekends. You've got the Dairy Dip, you've got concerts, you've got all that stuff down there. Every contract that I sign for a band during Concert in the Park, we have to have an option for them to be under a covered area due to inclement weather. So if we have inclement weather, our backup is the picnic pavilion. That's not real conducive from an electrical standpoint to have amplifiers and all that other stuff put there. So the thought process is a covered stage of some sort of nature. I mean, we met with, I don't know, Joe, how many did we meet with? 5, 6, 8 individuals on other options for, let's not call it an amphitheater, but a covered stage. Where can we put it? What does it look like? So again, I know there's a lot of angst on the renderings. Those are ideas. But if you peel the onion back and you start looking at it, the Dairy Dip is over 50 years old. It was migrant quarters for the onion field when it first started working here. Is it conducive for high volume ice cream machines, high volume freezers, coolers, kitchen equipment? It is not. We are limping along in that area. The Phase 1 pavilion, we've had that conversation many, many times. Is it sliding into the lake? Yes. Well, how quickly is it sliding into the lake? Probably not like 10 feet a day, right? But it is, the foundation is cracking. The front porch is separating from the foundation. The evaluation from Whiteman is you could spend over $1 million just renovating this and putting it together. You're still going to have foundation issues. So why not build it? So what does that area look like? The road is a safety issue. Again, just last night, I was going through there to go to PSO to get some camp firewood for the campfire, and young lady walking her dog almost got drilled trying to cross the street because golf carts aren't. So we're trying to redevelop that area to make it safer, allow more parking, update our structures that are dying, and if it passes, so this is the other thing that we've had, is if it passes, it's either option A or option B. That's absolutely wrong. I don't know where people are getting that idea. If it passes, these are ideas. Again, our process when we built this building was we took member feedback from what I understand. We had a cross-functional team to what do we want the building to look like, what kind of finishes. We would take all of that, we would do that same process on these buildings. Go ahead, Brad.
Jeff, I just wanted to make another comment to Steve's question. I think what was really important for us in finance and the long-range planning and the cross-functional team is when Whiteman came back, they listed buildings as red, meaning it would cost us more to maintain that building than to replace that building. Then they had a group that were in the yellow, which means that you need to really invest in the maintenance of these buildings or they're going to turn red. And then there were a group that were green, which means they're in good shape. I think, I guess I'm not a fan of the renderings because I don't see that's how they're going to look or be in terms of size and that kind of thing, because I think that decision has yet to be made. The other thing is, we keep talking about this amphitheater and we're focused on a paragraph in a whole 25-year plan. It's just a paragraph, and it was just an idea. It is just an idea. But we're forgetting that every single one of our pumps, these water pumps, came out in the red, right? We have some really important infrastructure issues that need to be addressed. And I just encourage us to look at the whole plan and not just a small piece of it. And I don't think the renderings did us a favor, because I think it's focused in on just a small piece there. And the South Shore, the pavilion, came out as red according to their evaluation. And to me, that means, why are we going to dump money to keep it there when it makes more sense to replace it financially? How that looks, I don't know. I don't think we know that. I think that is yet to be determined. And I think those renderings sort of lead us in a direction. People think they're too modern looking or whatever, the charm of them. I think that all has yet to be determined. It's just, I want us to go back to the red, yellow, and green concepts, because that's, to me, the most important thing for the infrastructure, and we have yet to find that out.
Okay.
Why are you stepping up there? I just want to, Jeff shares everything with, he meets with a lot of members throughout the week, and he shares everything with the board so that we're kept abreast of what members are thinking. And I found it quite interesting that the group that he talked about that had their ideas on the cover for the van brought in some remnants of what they thought would look better and shared it with him. And he shared it with us. And the thing that I found funny was the pictures that we looked at, all of them were addressed as amphitheaters. Every one of them was addressed as an amphitheater. So membership on Facebook are saying, we don't want an amphitheater, but then good ideas. I'm not saying I like the photos that they were sharing. Excellent ideas. We had talked about that too. But I agree with Brad is the fact that maybe those ideas to put out what we could have might have not been the right direction. But I just thought it was funny.
So Rick Poole, 342. And I have an engineering background, and I'm curious, did Whitman ever look at how often a facility is used? Because if you look at a band or something like that, what are they here? 5 or 6 times a year, and you may have 500 or 600 people. So did they look at the evaluation to say, how often would it be used and what percentage? Because yes, it's nice, but I think you really need to focus on like redoing the CCs. That should be a top priority because they're used 24/7. So I see the grandiose ideas, but I don't think, it doesn't sound like they did the evaluation to say, how much time are we going to use this building? You could go look at how many hours a week is this building here used? How many hours a week is the Phase 1 pavilion used? I think that's part of it. You have to look at it, not only how much it's used, but then what percentage of the membership is using it. Yes, it's used for classes, which is good, but you have 20 or 30 people. So I think you need to look at it more holistically from that perspective in terms of what is the biggest benefit in terms of the usage and the percentage of people. It doesn't look like they evaluated it in that sense.
So, good comments, good question. My response to that is, Rick, they did. That was part of their evaluation. So if you're looking at a structure, right, not only do you have usage, but you also have the structure may only be used for 6 months out of the year, okay, with people coming in and out. But you have, they're used more than 4 months, Jill. They're used 6 months at least out of the year. Just because members are here starting from Memorial Day to Labor Day, we open the park April to October. These buildings are used during that time frame. So they look at usage. We did do a usage study with North Shore versus Phase 1 Pavilion. We addressed that in the last town hall. You can go out there and listen to those comments. But we said the same thing with, hey, you need to understand, we're the size of a city, but we're a city for 6 months. We're not a city for 12 months. What we do know and what we do have, similar to any city and any other structures out there, is the buildings do sit out in the weather, in the wide open for 12 months out of the year. So they took the internal usage and they also took, hey, this is a regular structure that we would take, it's outdoors 24/7, 365 days a year. And that again is where they said, hey, these need to be replaced. Back to Brad's comment, okay, if they're used 12 months out of the year, 5, 6, 7 days a week, let's ratchet that down and say, do all these need to be replaced? No, some of them need to be renovated. So that's how we came up with the red, yellow, and green.
I just had a couple things. Roger Phillips, 0458. I've heard a lot of criticism about the cost of this study. Am I right in assuming it's around 85,000? Is that correct?
So there's two different, so the renderings, I think the comments were on the renderings cost $85,000. The renderings did not cost $85,000. The renderings cost about $2,600. All in, yes, we did about $70,000 for the evaluation in 2025, where they put a team on the ground and they were here for a week evaluating all of our structures, data crunching, and putting out the presentation of here's the evaluation of your assessments. So that was step one. Step two, on supporting the town halls and doing the other thing, I think we've spent about another $25,000 to $30,000 on top of that.
Okay. Well, just based on, excuse me, if it was 85,000, it comes to $38 per site. So that's pretty reasonable, I think. So there's just a comment.
Thank you.
The other question I have is, if this does not pass, what's next? What happens?
Great question. So again, this is the plan. I mean, this isn't made in the, Kimberly and I didn't sit in the conference room and have a bunch of coffee and say what can we do. This is the plan, and if the plan doesn't pass, I will say this plan is based on 2025 numbers. The evaluation that Whiteman did was July of 2025. They did it based on BOMA standards. You can look those up. The BOMA standards are nationally recognized standards for evaluating structures. They, on average, again, I'm not the expert, but, and talking to Whiteman and other individuals in the industry, on average, those standards could go up 4 to 8% every year because of construction materials and things of that nature. So we're already behind the 8 ball on this. These numbers are locked in based on what we have on the ballot, what we've communicated to the members. If it doesn't pass, we started with a plan, we start scrapping stuff. And, you could skinny this thing down, you could go less projects, you could go to 10 years. You might save $50 because, again, we're already behind the 8 ball. The state doesn't care about pools. They care about CCs, they care about roads, they care about security, they care about water, they don't care about pickleball courts, they don't care about playgrounds. So you could get a significantly different plan with less amenities and fun stuff, and probably not much change in the dollar amount. Good question, though.
I just want to make one additional comment about the money that was invested. I felt, and I still feel, it was critically important to bring an outside independent firm in here to do an assessment of the buildings and infrastructure. I think that brings, to me as a member and to us as members, a more objective review of our infrastructure than if we had people internally doing that, staff or members. I think it takes all the bias out of it. That's what the intent was, to take all the bias out of it and just give us an objective evaluation of the buildings and infrastructure. And so, did it come back more expensive than I ever thought it would come back? Absolutely. And that's why I was glad the board was able to cut out and cut back on some of that the best they can. But the bottom line for me was this outside firm that does this for a living with different municipalities within Michigan and probably some areas in the Midwest came back and said, this is where you're at. this is what our review against some national standards in terms of how buildings and infrastructure should be would cost to keep, repair, or replace. So.
Yeah. You have to step back up to the mic, Drew. We like hearing your voice in the mic.
One of the scary things that I've heard a lot of feedback on is the 3.5% a year escalator.
Yep.
The 200 current assessment had no escalator, as we know.
Correct.
That makes that $200 10 years ago worth less than it is now, of course. But I'm thinking 3.5%, what discussion led up to that number? Because I think that's what's scaring a lot of people about this proposal and committing to that.
Right. No, great question. So the logic behind that is we have data for our COLA, because we originally said, let's tie it to COLA. We have data on our COLA that over 25 years through the park, COLA has been a 2% escalator too. So, I'm sorry. So COLA is supposed to be the cost of living adjustment. So if you look at our bylaws, so every year when we do the dues, there is an increase in dues based on CPI, which is Consumer Price Index. That's in our bylaws, and it's pegged to March of the year coming up. Every year it's March, right? It's not based on a 12-month average. It's specifically based in March, and that's in our bylaws. So cost of increase, cost of living adjustment, or CPI, are kind of used interchangeably. So we've got 25 years of data that says over 25 years here at Sandy Pines, the cost of living has been on average adjusted about 2%. And that 2% really got spiked in 2020, 2021, 2022 during COVID. If you remember, one year dues went up 8.7%. Another year it went up 4.9%. So after COVID, inflation has really hit us, right? We're not immune to that either. It's hit outside of Sandy Pines. So back to Drew's question, we took a look at the COLA and we said if you add in the COVID years, it's about 2.3%. If you take that out, it's about 1.7%. Now, construction projects, when we've talked to Whiteman and other people in that industry, again, we've already said those adjust about 4 to 8%. So you got COLA, CPI, that our bylaws say we can adjust the dues to, averaging about 2.3%. The construction industry is saying these projects can increase by about 4 to 8%. 3.5 was kind of based on the projects that we need and based on the amount of projects and the time that we were looking at, we settled on 3%. We looked at just COLA. We ran out of money in less than 5 years. We went all the way to the 4.5 or 5%, and we had a surplus. If you look at the 3.5% over 15 years, there are probably 2 or 3 years where we'll have to scramble, where if we don't manage the money appropriately, we could go into a small deficit, and then the board has other levers to say, all right, can we approve a project based on a board vote to transfer some money? We don't want to get there, but that's kind of the methodology that we had the finance committee look at, the board, long-range planning, and the operations team. Good question, Drew.
I just want to say that I definitely support that increase. over the that 10-year project, capital project of $200 a year for 10 years, we could see as a finance committee, as a board, as administration, that didn't last. It didn't cover the 10-year projects. We ended up having to transfer money from operational budget to capital budget to do the projects we said we were going to do. So unfortunately, costs go up, and we just have to be mindful of that. So I think we're doing our due diligence with that 3.5%. I know Whiteman suggested 4.5%, and that was a little hard to swallow. Like Jeff said, we pared it back down to 3.5%. So we feel that's fair, but we also feel we're doing our due diligence so we don't run out of money on these projects that we are saying we want to do and plan to do.
Right, no, that's a lot of numbers. But, so the 3.5% would be escalated on the total 650. That is out there on the project list.
Right.
Yep.
Wait, it's what it there is. Wait a minute. So are the numbers up there based on the 650 amount, or is it based on the 450 amount?
So those are based, again, that's based on the 450 because the concern or the confusion was, what am I paying extra? You're paying, we're trying to do the incremental, so it's based on the 450. You're paying 200 today. And so those numbers are based on the 450. But when you go out to the project list that's out there, at the very bottom, that entire table shows you what it is for, here's 650, here's 3.5% on top of the 650, here's what, so it escalates the entire 650.
Oh, okay. The way I'm reading that, it's very confusing. I thought the way it's reading is based on the 450, the 200 is 200, not.
No, again, this addresses the this is based on members' feedback on, I'm already paying 200 now, what incremental am I gonna have to pay out of my pocket?
You're already paying 200, but not 3.5% on that 200 already.
Agreed.
So, I'm just saying, just want to clear that up. And then, you're also saying you have to go back to the drawing board. What about the CCs that haven't been repaired that you wanted to do? I mean, you say it's, you don't have an idea of what you want to do yet, we're giving you money, but you have a list of priorities that we can look at and say, okay, this CC's gonna be done, this is gonna be done, the water's gonna be done, and then we're gonna spend money this month, this year's this, this year's our focus. Do you have that broken down?
That's all on the project list, all 25 years.
It's on the,
It's all on the project list.
and so if it doesn't pass, then you're going back to the drawing board and then you go like 5-year, 10-year plan.
Yeah, again, I don't want to speak for the board, but 5 years ain't gonna cut it. So, yeah, you'd have to go back to the drawing board and, 10, 15 years is based on the condition of the park. And I'm a member too. I've heard that, hey, this doesn't impact me. I don't care. I do care. I'm a member of the park. This impacts me. This impacts my family. I've also heard that, well, I'm not going to be here in 15, 25 years, so I don't want to do this. That's fine. If you're not here in 15 years, you don't have to pay it, right? It gets transferred to somebody else. We're in a spot, unfortunately, that 40 years of, because if you take a step back, the park's 55, 56 years old. We have a 10-year plan. Nothing was really addressed proactively for about 40 years. So here we are as members with, hey, we need to do something. We need to take care of this. This is something that we're trying to be proactive about. I may not be here. My kids love it here. My grandkids love it. My grandchild loves it here. We want to make certain that it's sustainable, not only for them, but for protecting everybody's investment. So, yeah, the backup plan, like we talked about, we have to go back to the board, and there's a lot of stuff that, based on the evaluation, you know, amenities need addressing too. State doesn't care about amenities. You're welcome. Thank you.
Mike Knox, 5020. This might not be a popular position, but I'm a big believer of when you ask somebody to do a job for them and they raise their hand and say, we'll do it, that I have a tendency to agree with whatever they ask me as a recommendation to do. I have attended a lot of the meetings, and I can see that there's been a lot of time and effort given to this, and a lot of thought. I want you to protect my investment. I do not want this park to go downhill. I'm in support of your proposal. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We don't hear that often enough. We love what we do, and we do it for you. We do it for us. We do it for you, and we do our best. We want to protect this place, just like Jeff said, for our kids, our grandkids, and I know people get focused in on some areas of this. I would love for everybody to just look at it as a whole. As a whole, we are investing in our investment, in our homes, this is all of our property. If you look at it that way, we all own this together. And we want to keep it nice. We want to keep it up to date. We want to keep it safe. It's a whole encompassing thing. Wells, water, lake, buildings, bathrooms, vehicles, the entire park. Just think of it as a whole, as you're protecting and investing in your investment and in your future.
Great comments. Thank you, Jenny. All right, well, we've got 8 minutes, and it looks like
Just give the mic to that guy.
Kelly, he'll start singing, and I don't know if we want it. I don't know if we want that one, so. All right, going once, going twice, quickly going 3 times. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day. Merry Christmas. Go out there and enjoy the park. It's a beautiful day. Take care.